And as the uproar continues over President Trump's policies at the border, many are forgetting how President Obama treated migrants while he was in office. One America's Pearson has more.
The media tirade against President Trump is reaching new levels as Democrats and Hollywood activists protest the separation of children from their families at the border. But celebrities and the political elite are rushing to condemn President Trump for policies that he didn't write or pass, policies that have actually been the law in America for decades. Not only that, but the media and politicians like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are silent on the fact that President Obama held more than double the number of children in shelters during his administration.
President Trump, if you're truly ashamed of what's happening at the border, get your team together and undo this shameful policy immediately, which you can do with a flick of the pen.
In fact, while Obama was in office in 2011, he separated nearly 7,000 children from their parents, housing them in temporary shelters. And in 2013, that number quadrupled, with human rights champion Barack Obama detaining a whopping 25,000 children, isolating them and separating them from the adults they arrived with. Those numbers come right from the U.S. Health and Human Services Office of Refugee and Resettlement, the ORR. With migration reaching crisis levels, the children were forced to sleep in prison-like conditions, in cages, and on concrete floors. All of this under President Obama. These are the pictures the mainstream media won't show you. Pictures of how refugee children were treated by the Obama administration. These were taken in 2014 at Obama's detention facility in Brownsville, Texas, and Nogales, Arizona. Pictures you'll never see on CNN. Furthermore, President Obama failed to protect these children from child predators and placed them in the care of human traffickers and child molesters. The HHS failed to do even basic background checks on the adults who came to claim the children. In fact, government caseworkers only visited 5% of these children once they were moved to new homes. As a result, sponsors were able to make off with numerous children they had no relation to. Again, under President Obama. In just one example, 8 children ended up in Marion, Ohio, where they were forced to work in slave-like conditions on an egg farm. In another case, a Guatemalan boy was sent to live with his uncle in Virginia, but when that uncle refused him, the boy's sponsor forced him to work 12 hours a day to repay a $10,000 smuggling debt. And another boy begged caseworkers not to give him to his father, who he said beat him, but officials under Obama ignored the request, and the boy was later found in a basement being starved. Over 125,000 unaccompanied minors have been smuggled into the U.S. since 2011, with many being delivered by government agents directly into the hands of abusive human traffickers. This all happened under President Obama as a result of too little precaution and background checks for the people the children were being given to. It's exactly the situation President Trump is trying to avoid. But liberals and the media would rather see children end up as slaves than give Trump any credit. And Nancy Pelosi, who defended President Obama's immigration policies, is now calling President Trump's actions a form of child abuse. Apparently, Pelosi doesn't consider giving children to actual human traffickers or allowing them to be molested child abuse, as long as it's done by a Democrat.
Simply, children do not belong in an immigration jail. That's just the way it is, or in detention on military bases is what they have in mind.
That's interesting, because in 2013 and 14, that's exactly where President Obama put them, at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. Obama prosecuted over 500,000 illegal aliens, and President Bush did the same thing. This isn't something new. Many of the prosecutions carried out under Obama separated families or placed children in the care of child molesters. Where was the liberal outcry then? Adding fuel to the fire are demands that everyone at the border should be allowed to cross and become citizens. But what many fail to understand is that the vast majority of migrants, especially from Mexico, simply end up on welfare and are not contributing members of society. That's according to the government's own data. A report from the Survey of Income and Participation, part of the U.S. Census Bureau, shows more than half of all Hispanics in America today are on welfare. and a staggering 70% of Hispanic migrants come to America and immediately go on welfare. It's data that crushes the notion that these are just hardworking immigrants filling jobs that Americans don't want. The situation at the border won't be solved overnight, but it also won't be solved if the President of the United States isn't allowed to enforce the current laws of the nation, what he was elected to do. President Trump's zero-tolerance policy is aimed at protecting Americans, and even immigrants and their children, and preventing illegal aliens and human traffickers from wandering into the U.S. freely. And in fact, President Trump even announced that immigrants who present themselves at ports of entry seeking asylum will not be separated from their children. Only those who cross illegally will be detained. Mexico has some of the highest murder and drug crime in the world, with over 200,000 people killed since a war on drug cartels was announced in 2007. This is crime that drug cartels would gladly bring to America if border laws are not enforced. If the Hollywood elite and liberals like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer truly wanted to protect the children, then enforcing the border and preventing these criminals from entering America is the best place to start. Pearson Sharp, One America News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.